Good morning, APN world. It's my pleasure being here at such a welcoming and energetic audience. Over these days, I keep being impressed how many different use cases and industries are just in one room. And I hope that also our use case will be insightful and useful for you. So Novartis is an innovative medicine company. And every day we work to reimagine medicines to improve and extend people's life. And our medicines reach more than 280 million patients across the globe. At the same time, we cannot just do our work ourselves. So we interact with so many stakeholders across the globe, healthcare professionals, patients organizations, researchers, you name it. So many, and we keep expanding, working with the external world. So it's very important to have foundations that support this vision, and some of our key foundations are related to our people and the talents we have in our company, as well as science and technology that we really support a lot through our research. But something I'm mainly passionate about is the building trust with society. It goes back to the work that we're doing with external stakeholders, because we really want to make sure that people trust when they work with us and interact. And that comes through different programs that we have, including external environment support, the equity in medicines, and access to products. But something I've been working mainly for the last 3 years is related to the ethical business conduct and maintaining our high ethical standards. And it's quite easy to do this job when you have a big support from our key senior leaders. Our CEO in particular quite often talks about ethical standards and the importance of maintaining these ethical standards whenever we interact with our external stakeholders in particular. To support the whole company, we have ERC, Ethics, Risk and Compliance. This is the global functions I'm representing today, and I have the pleasure of working with more than 500 colleagues across the globe. As ERC, we make sure that our associates understand our ethical principles, but also can identify and manage risks within their activities, whether they're interacting or doing any kind of business activities. And it's quite also a wide range of the things that we are doing as the company. So it's very important to know where you have different risks associated with that work. And ultimately, as well, to make sure that you have compliance in any activities you are doing, you are following both internal and external regulations. So one particular policy that we recently relaunched is doing business ethically. That's the policy that supports our principles that we do not tolerate any bribery in any shape or form, and we also maintain high ethical standards of our business conduct. Let me give you a couple of examples where it actually comes to life. So whenever we interact with external stakeholders, let's say someone wants to get insights from our healthcare professionals to understand better the challenges that our patients might be facing in the healthcare environment. So we would invite them and take time from their work and might be, again, learning their insights, but we would like to also compensate for the work they are spending and pay for their professional services. So this is where it becomes tricky. And you really need to make sure that you understand all the risks associated with that activity, to follow internal policies. And it might be quite overwhelming, especially for a bit more complex cases when you do such activities. So this is where it's very important that we also have the whole ecosystem that supports that environment. So it's not just policy, because policies doesn't exist in vacuum. So you need to make sure that you have proper trainings, risk discussions, and that people can really live up to that policy. So at the center of all this ecosystem, we finally launched BeSure, the system that helps our associates to navigate and understand that risks they have, but also how to comply with all the different policies. So that's what we have now, but let me take you back to the 2021, at the time when we were reassessing our policies that were effective at that moment in time, and also electronic system. We were quite good, but maybe there was something else that we wanted to improve and evolve in our environment. So we went through the very big discovery phase where we landed with a very long list of requirements, and pretty sure Surya will be very excited to talk about the long list of user requirements we shared with them. But 3 particular areas I want to emphasize. First of all, we wanted to make sure that whatever system will include risk management, so that we will be able to distinguish between low-risk activities and high-risk activities and how we properly manage them. Think about this whenever you are probably thinking what to have for breakfast and going to have croissant or coffee. That's one level of risks, though trust me, there are risks also associated with that. or whenever you're buying a car. Probably you would like to consult with more experts in this area. So this is pretty applicable to any part of our life. We as well would like to consult with more risk experts whenever we are launching high-risk activities. Another big part of our concept was to make sure that we can build in compliance. In the past, I've been seeing multiple of printed out PDF documents that explains people how to use the system. So imagine this in 21st century, when we can do so many things with just our phone and nice user experience, our business associates still had to print out training or rewatch the demo to make sure that they understand how to click the buttons in the system. So we completely went with the concept that we would like to have everything in one system, not only workflows, but also the knowledge management to support them on this. And the third big element is that as a multinational and big company, we operate in so many markets, we have quite different legal requirements. As part of also this project, we did a lot of standardization. At the same time, every market has their unique requirements. So we needed to make sure that every workflow we will have in the system will adjust and be able and be flexible enough to accommodate those local requirements in every single country. So this is where we came to our colleagues just asking, can we have a dynamic and easy to maintain system? This is where I hand over to Surya.
Super. Thanks, Maya. Well, I'm Surya. Good morning, everyone. I lead the automation practice in Novartis, and I'm happy to be here to share our use case and the journey on this. Thanks, Maya, for setting up the context. When you look at the industry, well, Novartis is a drug development company, but drug development is one part of it, but the acceptance into the society is the second part of it. And this is where this whole system comes into play, where the acceptance is largely contributed by the cross-section of the society in terms of the knowledge, the expertise, the industry research, and all that comes into play. So we end up interacting with multiple external organizations in different capacities for collaboration, for knowledge sharing, for research, by physicians, CROs, patients, caregivers, whatnot like. So apparently what happens is that 100+ markets of the Novartis interact with these external organizations and regulations to keep the system in place and to keep the system going, right? So when the business has asked us, hey, guys, we need to develop a system which meets the needs of 100+ countries, 100,000+ interactions, making it a global system, making it transparent, setting up a central tower to monitor, is self-sustained from a business standpoint of view so that business can operate on their own. It was a kind of a question which took almost like close to a month for us to identify what solution would fit into that. That's when we have to go back to the drawing room, identify what technologies can enable us, help us, and probably we started identifying them, evaluating them. When you go back to Matt's presentation yesterday, he was showing, like, he showed the Forrester report, Gartner report, Everest report. We also went through the same exercise and then zeroed in on APN, right? So when we zeroed in on APN, like, we were thinking, like, okay, you have 100 countries and you need one global system at the same time with the flexibility to adapt to the local needs. That's when probably we narrowed on identifying a couple of reusable components, like one is the journey framework and the other is the dynamic questionnaire. We had to source this from our partners and then enhance it further to the needs of Novartis by making it multi-tenant, by making it a parallel workflow environment, and then making it extremely dynamic for our needs. So that's when we zeroed in on these components as the foundation blocks for our system. And then we built on the top of it the whole central framework so that the business can operate on their own and not to rely on IT for every small thing, because the user base is 20,000 plus, your external interactions are 100,000 plus, so it should be self-sustained environment. And then we created a central tower, then the business rules engine, and then the user management and other reusable components, which you'll see in the subsequent slides on where this helped us to handle all these risks and make it extremely transparent. So these are some components of the whole system and are limited to, but this is not the entire thing. As Maya touched upon on how we manage risks, how we manage compliance, and why these are important, because of 100,000 plus interactions with the external market exposes Novartis to a significant amount of risk. Now, how do you control risk? How do you track risks? How do you mitigate them, right? That's where this whole thing's come into place. So we ended up doing all these modules, which are part of the central monitoring or central configuration. So I'll go one by one, like the knowledge management. Like generally we feel, okay, what's the big deal about the knowledge management? But imagine 20,000 users accessing the system from 100 plus countries. Where do they go, right? They have to go to their local systems if you don't put a single source of truth. That's when this comes into play. Acting as a single source of truth, a ready reckoner for the users to access processes, policies, what they can do, what they cannot do. And this is, again, extremely dynamic. It's a hot deployment. You change it, it goes into live in the next second. So 1,500 pages of documents, processes are baked into this. Then comes the risk assessment framework, which is the heart of the system. And this is extremely critical for Novartis because the number of exposures to risk because of these so many 100,000 interactions is very sensitive in nature. Right now, how this helps us, basically, we brought all the countries onto the same platform to harmonize them and to rationalize them and brought risks into different tiering and different dimensions. So the risks are evaluated across different dimensions, putting them into a common structure. So you know when someone interacts, you know where are they coming from, what are they doing, what do they want to do, and what is the risk. So this apparently helps us to first rationalize the whole risk framework. And then there's a risk algorithm that runs at the back end by assigning a risk score to that. And that risk score helps you to identify, okay, now what should I do? This is where the accelerators come into play. Based on the risk score, either it behaves dynamically or it goes a natural path. So what does this mean to the business, right? The things which are of low risk, it naturally goes, so the business doesn't need to worry. It gets monitored, it's get audited, it's get logged. The risks which are high in nature, it will take a different path. That means we know where to pay attention and we don't need to monitor everything and each and everything. So the risk framework is extremely critical for us in terms of that perspective. The fair market value calculator is something which is, may not, whoever is from the pharma industry, they may relate to that. Because there's so many external engagements, how do you compensate them? Does it require compensation or doesn't it require? Different activities, different roles, different contributions from the society needs to be accounted into that. And again, we did the rationalization where for every country, we have the master data in terms of what is the fair market value for that country, that activity, that role, etc. Right? And that helps us to tier what is the nature of activity and how do we do that. Now, the person who is interacting with the system, when he wants to submit and handle, he knows, okay, what is the prescribed? The approver, the management knows, hey, this is the prescribed. Is it going up or is it going down? If it's going up, why is it going up? If it's going down, is it acceptable? Like that's the kind of transparency that brought into it. And there is a structure for this now. For 100 plus countries, everyone has a structured process, structured way of doing things. No one can go out of the bounds. Then we have the audit capability. Because of the compliance nature of our systems, everything should be tracked, auditable. Any transaction, any email, any changes in the master data, everything requires a highly auditable. That means over a period of time, it would be extremely large and big and has to be scaled to meet the needs of these audit requirements. Email notifications are naturally built into the system in terms of triggering the emails, triggering the communication, etc. And then approval flows with built-in controls is basically what helps us when, based on the risk and the fair market value, how it has to be behaved dynamically. Well, this is the beauty, like what does it take to deliver this, right? So this has been delivered across different countries, like 4 different countries participated to deliver this. Germany, Switzerland, Czech, and India. 350 plus colleagues. Right? Because so many countries are involved, you need to involve them to bring onto the same platform in terms of the framework, the policies, and the process. So everyone had to rationalize, bring their thoughts together in terms of tiering this and building this up. And the project has been delivered across 32 sprints with spot landing, no deviations. and number of test cases and testers, 460 and 900. And then we had to go through 100 workshops. There's a lot of pre-work that has to be delivered to come to that rationalization. And then we had 3 partners whom we worked with to deliver this, Appian and Xebia. Appian is the product partner for us. They were working with us across the lows and highs, and the support was great because the product is extremely stable. And Xebia is our service integration partner who worked with us and helped us to deliver this. Now, these are the numbers. The system is live as of last November, and this is how it looks like. 18,000 users plus, and this will grow this year as we roll out to large countries like US and China. So far, 20,000. We are anticipating it's 100,000 by the end of the year. The number of workflows, because of the large cross-section of the countries, large cross-section of the roles that are involved, 6,000 workflows are already deployed into the system. It will keep on growing. And this is happening because of the accelerators we use and because of the foundation layers we kept in place. 1,500 plus pages for knowledge library. This grows as we add more and more countries into that as and when we increase the scale. Internationalization is built in, and it helps the countries to have it in their own local language. And the critical integrations which enable the system are the enterprise integrations with your HR, finance, and data lake systems. Now, this is from the IT standpoint of view. So probably let me put it back to Maya and ask her, hey, how do you see it from the business angle? Did it really help, or is it something like we are anticipating and thinking that this is the IT system that has been developed great? So Maya, over to you to share your view.
Thank you, Surya. So indeed, those numbers probably speak for themselves. It's quite a big scale of the system we launched in the first release, and we keep expanding. At the same time, for me as the business, what's the most critical is that we have our benefits for the users. So we almost double down on the time needed for activities to be approved. Also, we have general optimization of the cost that we spend because now it's much easier to update. Even for those 1,500 pages, I can really, as the system owner with my team, easily update that. And ultimately, we empower business to take their own activities in their hands because now they have better awareness of the risks associated with their activities, but also to what they're doing in their area. And at the end of the day, we have quite a big field force. So it was very important for us to have a user-friendly design, but also the mobile-friendly design that can support the usage of the iPads. So with that, again, it's very short, trying to pack all our experience of 3 years into one presentation. We thank you all for your attention and happy to answer your questions during the break. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.